Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to be talking about discussing and doing a tutorial on a modern classic. I really enjoy classic VSTs. Just coming back to them, I'm like, wow, these were so incredibly useful and it's very nostalgic to use them. And CamelPhat is one of those modern classics. What it was a multi-effect plugin. It was kind of a Swiss Army knife. It would have everything that you needed, and it sounded really good. It was really applicable to the music of the time, i.e., like electro and house, and it was used in techno production as well, like a lot of stuff. And it's just one of those ones that you used what you needed, but it had everything. And this is one of those things that you didn't need to use, a particular DAW. You'd see someone using it, you'd be like, "Oh my God, I got to use this." That was one of these examples here, and it was so incredibly useful for me. I used it on a lot of things. I used it on my master bus because it had a really awesome responsive filter back when we didn't have the latency compensation. Plug-in latency compensation, you kids get off my lawn. We didn't have that back then, and this was very responsive, and you'd be able to catch that transient. So I'd have like my techno tracks with the filter, high pass. I would be able to kind of drop it, and it would, be there when I needed it. Same with a lot of the French house stuff that I was making back in the day. This is used a lot on that. So essentially, it is multiple little plugins put together. There's a number of very magical ones, and we're going to go through them in the order that we need here. So let's go over here. So this is the, oops, what the, we lost it. Okay, so this is the manual. So this is how the signal flow works. We got your sound coming in, bandpass filter, right? Distortion, multimode filter, flanger, magic EQ, compressor, output. We have the ability to morph the bandpass filter and switch it to the end, which is also very useful. So this is the signal flow, and I'll be just hammering it in as we go throughout this tutorial. This is the default preset. I think it'd be worth our while just to go to clear. And this is the blank preset. So the first thing that the audio does is it goes into the filters. So these are dual filters, low pass and high pass. It's called the band pass filter. And you just essentially turn on the module as you see fit. So let's give this sound a play here. Right, we have control over, low pass and high pass. And this low pass and high pass, it sounds so familiar to me somehow. And it's just, it's really kind of intuitive to use. And everything in here can be automated, even the on and off, no clicks. Really ahead of its time, this particular plugin. So yeah, let's just give that a listen. Right, things like that. With independent control of the resonance as well, if you want it to be a little bit, I guess, gentle. Right, but if you want to kind of boost it, this is something that we would do all the time, is we would have a resonance boost and then just leave the low end there. It's similar to something else we used to do to simply just boost the bass. We just kind of do that. It would give like that low end bump, and this is essentially kind of tape bump, I guess. There you go. I no longer do this, but this is something that I used to do, and I got it from this plugin. And seeing, producers of the time do this, giving that little boost on the low end and things like that. Again, you can have independent control of the resonance. It's a very musical filter. Right, a little bit extreme. Right, no clicks. And it sounds great. You can also link these two and control them both at the same time. Right, and you know, this would be done on, you know, we would create a new track, have this in here, and then just do like really interesting bandpass stuff, and that would kind of act as a not a filter, like a flanger essentially. Right, so I'll really boost that resonance there. Right, house music. Okay, house music. Something else I want to mention as I'm doing this, the mix is over here next to the master here. Right, so you can get some really interesting sounds there, and this is a classic sound that that this does, in my opinion. Master on and off basically turns the plugin on and off. It's kind of weird. It's down here. You typically, want to see it up top here. But it's we were weird back then. Right, very responsive, super fun. Let's move on. So I'll unlink that, move that down. Okay, so this is the bandpass filter, nice and fun. And the the BR mix again sends this to the end of the chain, right? Right, so you can't really hear it now. Right, things like that. Anyway, let's move on to the next in the chain. The next in the chain is the distortion. So it goes from here to here. It's really not that intuitive. It's not like sequential. You just kind of have to, know what you're doing. But it makes sense once it's put together. This is the distortion section. And the distortion section has a couple of really interesting things. We have a bit crusher. Right? Very, I guess, classic effect. There's a little bit of noise and things introduced there. The mech is more of a, it makes it a little bit more, I guess, aggressive. Right? So it's hefty. It's hefty. You got to be careful. Right? So kind of one of the things we would do is we just use this kind of slightly on the master. Right, and now we just smudge it together. Bit of tape, bit of something in there. Who knows? Mech. Yeah. Next up is tube. This will add some tube harmonics, which were the soup of the day back then. Still are now, I guess. Right, more of a gentler distortion. So I guess tube and then mechanical, which would be tape, tube, tape. I don't know. Maybe this isn't quite tape. Maybe this is something else. I've never really read the manual until today, but I'm sure someone in the comments will let me know, and I hope they let me know. But yeah, just one is more aggressive than the other. Right? Using these sparingly, and you can mix them in and out as well. Things like that. Excitation, what this does is it makes the higher end kind of more exciting, I guess. Right? So what'll happen, right? The distortion, whatever you're using, will really accentuate the low end and you'll lose some of the highs. This will introduce them back in. Right? It just introduces those delicious harmonics that we all enjoy. And that's the distortion section. I really enjoyed using this on like drum buses, and this section here is the secret to electro bass from 2007 to 2009. This is what was used. You just run a friggin' saw wave through here, and you get electro. And yeah, this is essentially it. This really works really well on synths and basses and some leads too. Anyway, let's move on to the next one in the chain. This is the Multimode filter. So there's two filters. There's the Bandpass, delicious, usable kind of basic filter here, and then there's the Multimode filter. And this one has quite a few different filter types. And, we have, and this is useful for synths and things like that. So you got low pass to fat with an envelope detector. Right, and then you have the XY controller here, which I'll get into if I remember. This is a way to control multiple things at once. Right now, I'm kind of controlling the cutoff and resonance and things like that. I would actually play and then record this in with my my mouse. It was quite an interesting time. Anyway, right. So we have our envelope detector here, I guess. Right, got some aggressiveness stuff going on there. Right. Things like that will essentially, the filter will be affected by what's being fed into it, which is not an effect that I'm really into, but it was used quite a bit back in the day. So we got low pass, BQ, fat, band pass, high pass, format, which is an interesting thing. You essentially lose a tiny bit of volume there. A lot of bit of volume. Things like that. Probably not the best example for that. Peaking notch, comb, ring mod. Right, which is a neat thing, especially with the envelope. And we got tube. I guess this changes to an amount. Yeah, I think this essentially is just another layer of tube distortion. Right. So, it's useful. It's there if you need it. And then another mech. So, yeah, you can kind of mix and match these. These are all kind of summed together and they're fed into this. And you can have another form of distortion in there. I really didn't use that feature back then, but, you have your bit reduction here. It tells you the bit depth here. And then resonance doesn't really do much of anything. But this is cool because you can have these attached to the envelope. And you can do some wacky stuff. Right, things like that. Pretty fun. And then we have our state variable filters. And yeah, I think the mix will adjust that. Oh, this is a low pass state variable filter. So these are, high quality. I think these are taken from the synth that Camel Audio made back in the day. Well, not back in the day, it was a couple years ago. I think they just moved them in. These are high quality filters. I don't remember seeing these or using these, but they are here and it is quite fun. So the usefulness of this is, having another layer of distortion with the ability to have a mix. Right, just to give it a bit of attitude. Really cool feature. Anyway, onwards to the flanger. This flanger I used on a lot of disco house tracks. It was just basic rate and amount flanger, not a whole lot special in there. things like that. Basic flanger there if you need it. And yeah, it just sounded good to me. I don't know. Yeah, anyway. Next up is the Magic EQ. So this is I don't know what this does exactly, but it's kind of a bump in a particular frequency range. So, between 60 to 120 hertz, which gives you a more low end. Right, and it sounds pretty neat. Right, it's something you could just throw in your master bus and then, your freaking Tiesto or something. And that's the Magic EQ. What it is essentially like a bass boost or something. I don't know, but that was used quite a bit on the master bus. Next up is the compressor. A release time of 100 to 2,000 milliseconds, so you can have it, quite aggressive, and then the compressor threshold amount. A lot of things happening under the hood, I imagine, but this is post Magic EQ. Right, so you can adjust the release. You can just make it really aggressive. Right, slow that down. Right, it's kind of like a gluey kind of compression. Right, let's get that Magic EQ on. Right, and sounds fat, cubed. And from there, that is it. Next is the master, which is an output volume plus a mix knob. Right, if you have something like really aggressive, say with the compressor here, right, you can have the full-on amount, have a little bit of a mix here, and what that will do is that will give you some New York compression, things like that. So from here, let's look at something that I really didn't use that much. It's the XY and the modulation section. So we have a XY here, and funny enough, all of when you drop in an Ableton VST, there's an XY controller here anyway, so you can just use this. But this is here, and XY control, they aren't really used that much. I don't know. Yeah, like name a modern synth that an XY controller is in. Anyway, people are honking. We can adjust which value we want to affect here. So we have the cutoff here. We can change that to flanger rate, and then flanger amount. And what this will do is this will just kind of control the flanger amount as we go up and down, and the rate as we go left and right. Right, so the idea of an XY controller is you're controlling two parameters at once with your mouse clicky device. And down here is the LFO section, two LFOs with a syncable rate and depth and a bunch of different shapes here. And what this will affect, I guess, we can go bandpass filter low, have it like so. And this will adjust that. Things like that. Oh, I gotta turn it on. Oops. We can sync it as well. We have another LFO here as well. And, you know, we can do all sorts of fun stuff. And this is CamelPhat. Something really cool is you can just click randomize a bunch of times and it'll give you some interesting results. Protect your ears. And you can turn on and off different distortion sections and modules. Both of those are on. Just random. Anyway, you can blow up some ears. But yeah, that is CamelPhat. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you learned stuff. Take care and have a good one.